is national security concerns. So it's a concept that a government along with its parliaments should protect the state and citizens against all kind of national crises through a variety of power projections such as political power, diplomacy, economic power, military might, and so on. So that's the concerns of national security to protect our citizens against all kind of national crises. So it is a variety of power projections. That's a concept of that a governments along with experiments. They should protect our citizens from agents all kinds of national crises. To national security. So, our national security is in a state or situations in which our most valued principles and ideals, our democratic life, our government structures, and our stability, health, and well being as a country and as a people are consistency secured in its regions. So there's a trade of national security that we are in a state of situations in which our most valued principles and ideas, our democratic life, our governments, structures in our ability, in our stability, health, and well-being as a country and as a people are consistency secured and students.
Fundamental elements. There are seven fundamental that lies at the core of it, and therefore further amplify our definition of national security. At the same time, they constitute the most important challenges we face as a nation and people. So when we say fundamental elements, how we can say that we are stable, like people? Just think the Philippines is a person. How we can say that we are stable or secured, financial and health stable. How we can say that the Philippines is prosperous. Now the seven fundamental elements are done. Number one is socio-political stability. Number two is territorial integrity. Number three, economic solidarity and strength. Number four, ecological balance. Number five is cultural cohesiveness. Number six is moral spiritual consensus. Number seven is external peace. This is the description of fundamental elements. The first and foremost elements is socio-political stability. When we say socio-political stability is what our social standing, what is our political beliefs. So in this, told that we must attain peace and harmony among all Filipinos regardless of religion. If we are siblings of Muslim, Roman Catholic, or any kind of religion we have, ethnicity, or social position. Even though we are in different religion, belief, social status, we need to help each other to become our nation or country prosperous. The second is territorial integrity. We must ensure the absolute inviolability and efficient governance of our national territory by the government and the state. When we say territorial integrity, it's not the territory in land. It tells the resources of our country. Start with people, product, or what product that we can import or export. The third is economic solidarity and strength. We have to develop a free market economy diligently through responsible entrepreneurship, focus on social conscience, respect for labor integrity, and consideration for public interest. So, how to describe if the country is prosperous? It told that the nation is prosperous if the economic are also prosperous too. So, we need to grow our economic to become our nation or country prosperous. Why? because when the economic is prosperous, there are a lot of opportunities of work or jobs for people. The fourth is ecological balance, dealing with industrial and agricultural development and population growth. National stability depends on the effective protection of our national environment. So now, we all know that industrial weather, or we call it industrial revolution, we are now in any mechanism or technology use. That's why we need an ecological balance. We need to give priority to our environment because when there is no environment, how we survive. The fifth is cultural cohesiveness. When we say cultural is what our culture tradition. And when we say cohesiveness, it is being well integrated and unified. Means that drawn from our heritage and embodying a Filipino tradition identity that transcends religious, ethnic, and linguistic differences must define our life as a nation. So we have different culture, tradition, education, and etc. We need to respect each other and have unity. It told here it is the element that we need to comply to say that we are secured and stable as a nation. The sixth is moral spiritual consensus. When we say consensus, it is the general agreement. We must driven by a national vision inspired and manifested by patriotism, national pride, and the advancement of national goals is in our words and deeds. Here is our moral belief and spiritual belief. Need unity. And for that, our nation, our country is stable and secured. The last is external peace. We must seek positive and cordial connect with all the nations and peoples, even as our nation itself must set an independent path of external influence and interventions or threat of aggression. So when we say external peace, we need the connection regarding with other countries. To every international countries, we need to deal well because it can help us in resources that we didn't have in our country, and also to have peace. So these 7 elements are fundamental, means it is important elements to told us that we are secured or stable.
First is national security. It is a state or condition wherein the people's welfare, well-being, ways of life, government, and institutions, territorial integrity, sovereignty, and core values are enhanced and protected. Internal threat, our national security environment is infused with 2 important dimensions. Internal threats to our national security make up the first dimension. Examples of internal threats are common methods include ransomware, phishing, stacks, and hacking. Internal threats originate within the organization itself and usually are carried out by a current and former employee, a contractor, a business associate, and etc. And cyber attacks can be malicious or inadvertent. Organized crime is national security concern. In particular, the issue of illegal drugs, a major threat to the national community over the nationwide, with barangays approximately affected. Organized crime, complex of highly centralized enterprises set up for the purpose of engaging in illegal activities. These activities may include trafficking in people, drugs, illicit goods and weapons, armed robbery, counterfeiting, and money laundering. Grave incidents of poverty is also a serious threat to national security, especially to the extent of Brits and Abbott's rebellion, crime and dissidents. Poverty incidence is the proportion of families and individuals with per capita income expenditures less than the per capita poverty threshold to the total number of families and individuals. Economic sabotage undermines the market economy, the financial system, and the nation's resources. Illegal activities such as counterfeiting, money laundering, large-scale smuggling, ocean fishing, and commercial dumping. Economic sabotage is any activities which undermines, weakens, or renders into disrepute the economic system or viability of the country or tends to bring about such effects and shall include inter alia, price manipulation to the prejudice of the public, especially in the sale of basic necessities and prime.
Good day everyone. I will talk about the grabs and the corruption. So grab and the corruption has become another threat to our national security by a virtue of the Hajj of scale by which it saps public and the resources, undermines more of the civil service and affects the delivery of a quality basis services. So what is grabs? So the grab is as an understood in American English is a form of a political corruptions, being the unscrupulous of a politician authority for a personal gain. So the similarly political grabs occurs when funds stand for the public project of the intentionally misdirected for order to maximize the benefits of to private interests. So the corruption is as defined by the World Bank is a form of the dishonesty or the criminal offense undertaken by a person uh, or organizations and entrusted with a position of authority to acquire illicit benefit or abuse power for one's and a private gain. The second one is the cyber calamities. Calamities is because of the serious food shortage of the Abbott Orden and the profiteering and the cause of the hunger, disease, and the deprivation. So what is it? So what do you mean by cyber calamities? So the cyber calamities is an event of the resulting in great loss and misfortunes, and the whole city was affected by the irremediable the calamity. The earthquake was a disastrous kata for the and the catalysm disaster. So misfortune, bad luck is unnecessary and unforeseen trouble resulting an from an unfortunate event. Persistent environment degradation poses a long-term and security threat. The degradations of the Paris and the water sheds, air, land, water, the contaminations, and the accumulation of the hazards of the populations are are the causing of the disease, morality, and declining national prosperity and the well-being. The environmental degradation is is the deteriorations of the environment through the depletions of the resources such as air, water and the soil. The destruction of the ecosystem is the habitat destruction, extinction of the wildlife and the pollution. When the natural habitats are destroyed or natural resources uh, are depleted, the environment is breeded. The external threat is the growing of the uncertainties that lie in the regional and the global makeup. The second dimension of our national security is environmental. Then, and as a threat of the external aggression against our country and remains in the remote of the horizon. The smuggling of the firearms and the contrabands is illegal migration and the occasional movements of foreign terrorists and environment and enforcement of the agencies is are collaborating closely and bilaterally and militarily with foreign and police organizations to track and these activities. Thank you.
Serious economic disparity between rich and poor nations, tensions are already causing local or regional shortage of freshwater, arable land, food, fisheries, and electricity. So when we say economic disparity, it is the unequal distribution of income and opportunity between different groups in society. It is also a concern in almost all countries around the world, and often people are trapped in poverty with little chance to climb up the social ladder. So next, the transactional organized crime. So transactional organized crime, there are connections between drug trafficking, terrorism, illegal smuggling, significant financial and bank fraud, arms smuggling, and political corruption. So when we say transactional organized crime, these crimes present great challenges to the rule of law, economic and social development, and the protection of human rights and security. In particular, transnational crimes can undermine people's quality of life and threaten their human security by limiting access to employment and educational opportunities. Natural disaster and environmental issues. Global human activities, especially population growth, resource usage, pollution, urbanization, industrialization, desertification, and deforestation will increasingly change climate change and weather patterns, strain fragile ecosystems, and bring more pressure on health and social assistance systems. So natural disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, and floods can often come at the least expected time. So others such as hurricanes and cyclones are increasing in severity and destruction. Typically, the poor are the worst hit, for they have the least resources to cope and rebuild.
Why national security concerns is important. The most important rules of the federal government is protecting our citizens from national security threats. The government wants to protect societies from disruptions owing to a disaster or crisis. So yeah, it is really important the national security concerns because they protect our citizens or from national security threats. So the governments want to protect society from disruptions owing to a disaster or crisis. So they protect our citizens like from national security threats and that governments wants to so on. Like they really want to protect our society from disruptions.